With only 20 minutes left to go, I will call it a win if we can just get to the end of the movie without Az's data getting turned on by Dr. Heather Sandtimer. Happening, folks. It occurred to me the last few videos I've done have examined some semi-heavy subject matter, so I thought I'd lighten things up a bit this week by doing one of my first few reactions if you haven't seen one before. The only thing I know about the movie is its short online description. We watch the movie together at the same time, and I do my review as we're going along in real time. And just as a heads up, if you're here for one of my typical video essay, pretend like I know what the hell I'm talking about movie reviews, there'll be a new one of those out next week. Right. Psychiatrist Elizabeth Derby becomes obsessed with helping a young patient suffering from extreme personality disorder. Sounds promising. However, it soon leads her into occult danger as she tries to escape an unimaginable and terrifying fate. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I suppose everything sounds vaguely familiar at this point in the game. Directed by Joe Lynch, who I'm pretty sure directed one of the Wrong Turn movies? There's so many of those, the odds are he probably did at some point. I've probably directed one and don't remember doing it. Leave a comment in the comment section if you've directed a Wrong Turn movie. Starring Heather Graham as Dr. Derby and Bruce Davison. I am a fan of his. And Barbara Crampton. God love her. She's been at this horror. She's been doing horror longer than I've been alive. Oh, full disclosure, I have met Heather Graham very briefly about a gajillion years ago at the Toronto Film Festival. She was very down to earth. I've met some Hollywood people, and for the most part, they're all a bunch of horrible people. So I'm just saying I do give Heather Graham a lot of leeway when it comes to her acting and the movies she chooses to appear in. But don't think even for a second that means I'm not going to crucify this movie if it ends up being terrible. Unless you actually happen to see this review, Heather, at which point I'm just showing off for my subscribers, and I think your acting is and always has been top-notch. Okay, so we start out with a pair of pathologists, I'm guessing. Barbara Crampton is one of them, and there's somebody else who's sweating excessively as some kind of a setup for a joke, I'm hoping? Nope, it is not a setup. They must have been stuck for time or something because he's just a really sweaty guy, apparently. Can I draw your attention to something really quickly before we get going? That woman is in her mid-60s. Wow. The security guard asks if it's true Dr. Derby is there, so does that mean Heather Graham is already dead? And then he warns Dr. Barbara to be careful because his father taught him friends are always the most dangerous, and when she asks him why, he says because they're friends. That might be too deep for my little YouTube brain to process. Barbara Crampton looks great though. Aha, it's a psych ward, so maybe Dr. Heather is not dead already. Miskatonic Medical School. That is some kind of, I can see that crystal clear in my head. I think that's Lovecraft. Are they copying the name from, okay, I will forget about this for now. So, Dr. Barbara and two adult film stars from 1976 go to check in on Dr. Barbara's friend, Dr. Heather, so they're pals. Dr. Heather must be pretty crazy. She didn't even notice them opening the big, gigantic metal door. One of the 70s adult film stars even has one of those hilariously huge metal key rings that nobody ever really has in real life, so only a really crazy person wouldn't have heard those keys, I'm guessing. And when Dr. Derby gets too close to her friend, Lance and Saber thrust her 94-pound frame up against the wall. I bet a quarter of her body weight's coming from the red makeup they put around her eyes, which is working. I mean, it's really driving home the crazy. Look at the faces on Lance and Saber when Dr. Barbara tells them to let her go. What? Are you insane? She's 94 pounds, and you're a doctor. You should know what that red around her eyes means. So Dr. Barbara thinks her pal is suddenly acting like a paranoid schizophrenic because Dr. Heather is convinced that dead body Dr. Sweaty just dripped all over in the previous scene is going to get her. So the rest of this movie is going to be Dr. Heather's recollection of the events that ultimately led to her being where she is right now. And the flashback begins with Dr. Heather's perfect little life as a successful psychiatrist. And of course, we in the audience know she's successful because she has one of those lovely leather couch chair things in her office and one of those ceramic phrenology heads on her Hector Pflugen IKEA shelf. And after she demonstrates whoever wrote this dialogue was fully capable of asking ChatGPT to generate a list of common psychiatric phrases and lingo, a scrawny 20-year-old shaggy-looking student named Azza barges in without an appointment. And of course, we know he's crazy because he's delivering his lines like this. And right when he's telling her his dad wants his body, his dad actually phones, and that kicks this little fella's acting into a higher gear. He David Kessler's the carpet clean and becomes a totally different person. And that different person could be Jack Nicholson. We just don't know yet, but whoever the new person is, their face is going to be very sore for a very long time after all of this acting. The acting is so convincing, actually, that Dr. Heather's compelled to waive all of her fees and treat him for free. Because, yeah, of course that's how it works. Hi, is this the mechanic on Queen Street? It is. I need some work done. What's your hourly rate? That'll be $90. The car's totaled and a bunch of deer have shit all over it and inside it. I kind of lost it while I was camping. Well, why didn't you say that in the first place? This one's on the house. So the scrawny 20-year-old student thanks her by grabbing her by the cabbage patch. And apparently from this moment forward, Dr. Heather can't get the scrawny 20-year-old who assaulted her intimately out of her head, but not in an angry way. Fuck off. Well, folks, if the movie is going to treat us like idiots, I suppose we've no choice but to reciprocate. Not you, Heather Graham. We know you didn't write this. When she gets home that night, she tells her husband everything about the little interaction, minus the Cabbage Patch smashing, of course. And then she imagines the scrawny 20-year-old who assaulted her intimately in place of her husband. And all of this is sending me personally some very confusing signals, being somebody trying to give Heather Graham some leeway, and as a male in 2025, because aren't you... Then she goes to his house the next morning. Now, personally, I would have thought successful psychiatrists with couch chairs and phrenology heads on their IKEA shelves would have known better than to jeopardize their entire careers. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go because in real life, Heather Graham was really nice to me. No, when nobody answers the door, she just goes in, which, of course, is breaking and entering. But to summarize everything actually happening here, she's breaking and entering the home of a clearly disturbed, scrawny 20-year-old who assaulted her intimately, and she's not breaking in for revenge or vengeance. She was super polite to me. Mr. Davison. He's one of those actors you look at and you just think he would make an awesome grandfather. It absolutely broke my heart when he was beaten to death with a frying pan by Dee Wallace in Lords of Salem. Come to think of it, Dee Wallace would make an awesome grandmother too. So Mr. Davison is Azza's father, and that's the person Azza claims wants his body. Nothing personal, Mr. Davison. Wait a minute, does that mean I'm implying it would be better if his dad was good looking? Azza's dada is speaking to Dr. Heather with the exact same dialogue and mannerisms his son was when he cookie clutched her. So he gets around to kicking her out finally. I nearly forgot she'd broken into his house in the first place with the way they were talking. But before she goes, he cuts her with a skinny ceremonial dagger type thing, and her blood soaks into his dollar store Necronomicon. And there's something really familiar about this. Happening, folks. Full disclosure, I don't normally look things up during a first view reaction because it basically defeats the purpose, but too many alarm bells were going off here. I kept seeing the word miskatonic over and over, and I've just looked it up, and this movie is based on an H.P. Lovecraft short story called The Thing on the Doorstep, which is of course a part of his big Cthulhu universe. I'm not going to pretend I remember all of the short story, but I absolutely remember miskatonic because it appears in several of his writings. Well, I absolutely remembered it after I Googled it. Knowing it's based on a Lovecraft story absolutely changes things. I just don't know how yet, especially given Heather Graham isn't exactly known for her... Let's go. So she's trying to work, but she can't get the scrawny 20-year-old who assaulted her out of her mind. And when he shows up again, without an appointment, again, she ditches her patient. Why is she hanging off this wisp of a child? He's got the charisma of him. By the time she ditches her patient, Asa is already gone, and then back home when her handsome, fit-looking, seemingly perfect husband asks her if she had a tough day. She says she can't tell him because of patient-client privilege. She says, "You know how it goes." Two thoughts on that. Firstly, yes, I'd say he probably does know how it goes, being her husband. I'm assuming she didn't magically become a doctor the day before. And secondly, she spent 15 full minutes talking in complete detail about her patient at the dinner table yesterday, which her husband should have pointed out, but it's okay, we can do it for him. And then Asa calls in the middle of the night because he's being attacked. So instead of calling the police, who are armed and trained and probably more than 94 pounds and probably not in their mid-50s, Dr. Heather Graham goes herself. And that leaves her poor husband stuck and emotionally frozen in a shirtless pose, which of course is metaphorical. For Asa must live in the Arctic Circle because look how bright it is at his house at midnight. And again, she goes right in and she finds Mr. Davison in a painfully familiar position for any of you Lords of Salem fans. Such an awful thing for such a lovely man. So she tries calling an ambulance, but Asa chucks her phone right out the window before he grabs Daddy's ritualistic skinny dagger, which I must say, really matches Asa's skinny jeans. This must be a Lovecraft story. So he tells Dr. Heather his father has taken his body twice already, and if it happens a third time, it'll be irreversible. But his father springs back to life and says abracadabra, or something similar, and they both get to rocking out on the rug. Give me a second to process this in real time with you, folks. Dr. Heather, the successful, experienced psychiatrist, fell for a scrawny 20-year-old patient with severe mental illness, as far as she knows anyways at this stage of the story, not only in spite of the fact he assaulted her intimately in her office, but it would now also appear she becomes aroused when he starts acting exactly like his elderly asshole father, who is laying dead on the floor 3 feet away, still warm, I'm guessing, and probably smelling of whatever filled his trousers at the moment of expiry. And the act is going on for so long on the desk, I am starting to feel awkward in my own little YouTube studio. So, apparently, while I was yapping away, Asa's dad's dead body vanished through a trap door in the floor while they were kaduking on the desk. And it all happened without anybody noticing it, which means the body moved the rug, swung the door open, climbed inside, lowered the door behind itself, and then the most impressive part, it managed to pull the carpet back over once the door was closed. And while Asa's dad's away in the basement, Dr. Heather has a look through the wannabe Necronomicon, which is filled with Cthulhu-type drawings, clearly not inked in blood, but rather done even more authentically with a big pen. Compared to the Evil Dead Necronomicon, these are like something I'd have drawn in my yearbook in like 6th grade. Hold on. Then Asa's dad comes back, so Asa separates him from his head. Come on, Dr. Heather, look at this kid. He's got the upper body of a flamingo. He's been hacking away for longer than they doinked on the desk, but she only started screaming when it was just about to come off. That is taking things too far, Asa. Seriously, I am all for you expressing your feelings, and this is not a place of judgment, but I have to put my foot down somewhere, and today, that somewhere happens to be your father's sternocleidomastoid. And then the house catches fake VFX fire. Now, as this entire story is a recollection from the hospital, Dr. Barbara tells her best pal, Dr. Heather, that everything is going to be fine, except that scene is also a recollection, so she's narrating the flashback as she's recalling the memory. whatever the hell's going on, Dr. Barbara tells Dr. Heather she has to confess to her perfect husband, and when she goes home to do that, the police are waiting for her. Now, nothing important happens with the police, so we are going to skip over that entire scene. So she tells her husband what she did, and he's so frickin' perfect, he doesn't even call her names. If it was my wife, I'd have called her a cunt, chipping and out of a whore 55-year-old twat. But that's just me, and I've never been married, which is probably just a coincidence. So, Asa calls again, except it's not Asa, and he says the same abracadabra thing, and he switches bodies with Dr. Heather. So that means this ancient H.P. Lovecraft cosmic spell also works over wireless telephones. And then they rock and roll on the floor. And then they start acting like each other, meaning Dr. Heather is in Asa's dada's basement, and Asa's dada is in Dr. Heather's house. She even complimented my jean jacket that day, which shows you how nice she actually is, because I think it was just like a jean jacket. And then, of course, we have the obligatory, self-exploratory, I'm getting bored-y of all of this predictability scene. I should probably point out, we are smack dab in the middle of this movie, and at the moment, I am not sure who's Asa, or who's Dr. Heather, or who's Asa's dada anymore. I am 99% sure Dr. Heather's in Asa's body in Asa's dada's basement, but that's only a guess. Ultimately, whoever is in the basement, they phone Dr. Barbara and tell her Dr. Heather is in trouble, and she gives her Asa's dada's address. Fuck me. And back at Dr. Heather's house, Asa's dada probably forces himself or herself onto Dr. Heather's perfect husband. And so... Remember Heather Graham as Felicity Shagwell in Austin Powers?
Yeah, baby!
Oh, awesome. There's another awkward, weird, inappropriately timed sex scene. I am far from a prude, but this is like if you go to your friend's house for dinner and their dog starts humping away at a throw pillow and your friend doesn't say a goddamn thing about it. So Dr. Barbara shows up back in Asa's dada's basement, where I think we're pretty sure Dr. Heather is handcuffed to a beam, and to convince Dr. Barbara she is her best friend, he tells Dr. Barbara something only Dr. Barbara would know, and that seems to straighten things out. It would be really nice if they put some effort into straightening things out for me, but I'm sure me wanting to know which characters are which in a movie is probably just me being a dick. Heather Graham was also perfect as that ditzy, fame-hungry waitress Veronica in that movie Horns, with the spoiled, confused about literally everything in life fella Daniel Radcliffe. They switch back again at the last second, and that leaves Dr. Heather back to normal at home, and Asa's dada back in the basement acting like a creepy dick again in the body of his scrawny 20-year-old son. And so Dr. Barbara leaves immediately before she gets her flower fondled, because she is a sensible woman. And then back at Dr. Heather's house, her perfect husband is all of a sudden creepier than Asa and Asa's dada combined, and for no apparent reason. He's just gone weird. No, please, no more humping throw pillows while I'm trying to eat the lasagna you made me. Why even invite me over? And apparently now Ada's dada poked Dr. Heather's husband while he was poking Dr. Heather's husband. Right. That means then, in keeping with the established lore of this film so far, Dr. Heather's husband is about to become the next potential receptacle for Asa's dada. That means things are about to get way worse for me, because in addition to not knowing who anybody is at the minute, I still don't know her husband's name. So again, Dr. Heather rushes off to save the day, and she starts back at her practice. I bet you she'd have gotten there a lot quicker if she'd worn her roller skates from Boogie Nights. And just as she's about to leap to her ultimate demise, Asa's dada shows up at the perfect time again. Is he wearing... Yep, he has. Asa's dada, in Asa's body, has been wearing the exact same clothes for the entire movie, and that's despite having done all manner of nasty and disgusting things, including removing a human head with the sacrificial skinny dagger that went oh so well with his skinny jeans. I am very sorry for this review. I wanted to lighten things up a bit, not make you lightheaded. Oh my gosh. The movie just utilized symbolism, probably accidentally, but we're gonna take what we're given and we're gonna like it. As we've literally reached the end of Act 2, right here, right now in this scene, as Data bends down and flips Dr. Heather's ornamental sand timer upside down on her flugel-blugel IKEA shelf. Time's running out. Flipping that sand timer also means this movie is almost fucking over. With only 20 minutes left to go, I will call it a win if we can just get to the end of the movie without Az's Data getting turned on by Dr. Heather's sand timer. Right, as we are going into the final act, they have to ramp things up a bit for us, and they have done that by having Az's Data acting like his creepy self on ecstasy now, while his voice is going, "The future is female, and so is mine." And that's not just confusing and off-putting and tonally inappropriate at this point in the story. It's a nightmare, grammatically speaking. And when Dr. Heather threatens again to leap from the ledge, Ada's Data tells her the idea arouses him. Because of course it does. This guy probably gets aroused thinking about my lasagna being wrecked earlier by that hypothetical dog humping my friend's pillows. So Ada's Data tells her if she can kill him, he'll leave her alone, which sounds like the most logical proposition in this entire movie. Tell you what, if you can get to that chainsaw before I can get to that chainsaw, and you can manage to slice me into a million little pieces and then toss each of those million little pieces off the end of a pier in Key Largo so you can feed each of those million little pieces to a million ravenous mako sharks, you'll never hear from me again. So she grabs the skinny knife from the... Oh, Heather Graham, you are making my job very challenging today. She grabs the skinny knife, which is skinny, and she uses it to reflect the lamp from her desk into Az's Data's eyes, even though it wouldn't take H.P. Lovecraft to notice the light is facing downward and the skinny knife is reflecting in the wrong direction. In this scenario, it is so completely impossible. I bet you guys $5 she's standing behind her desk on a grassy knoll. And she hypnotizes him. And while the light reflecting off of the knife is laughable, I have to admit I am getting a bit zoned out myself watching her acting in this scene. And she drives the skinny knife 8 inches through his skull and into his frontal lobe, which I'm pretty sure means it's gone right through his frontal lobe. Knowing this guy, I am guessing frontal lobe stabbings probably give him a boner. So Dr. Heather chucks Ada's Data right out the window, and then she backs her car. Then she backs her car into him a bunch of times, and that rear view camera angle is kind of cool. And then the police arrive at the perfect time, somehow, without anybody phoning them, while she's stabbing him pretty much everywhere except for his frontal lobe. And that brings us back full circle to the asylum again. And despite everything that's just happened, Az's Data is not actually dead, and that makes Dr. Sweatyface, the not cliched in any way, sandwich-eating pathologist who can handle anything, lose his shit. I mean, this guy was so unfazed by the body, he went out of his way to show us he could eat pastrami just like a minute ago, but not if it's a living person. That's a pathological bridge too far. And so, Ada's Data abracadabras Dr. Heather Graham again. Did you hear what I just said? Ada's Data abracadabras Dr. Heather Graham again. Hit the like button. I think I've earned it. Oh, but thankfully this time when she hits the floor and rock and rolls, she's got a lovely padded floor to do it on, which is, it's just really nice for her. You know, it's bad enough having your body taken over by Bruce Davison, but carpet burns too. So Dr. Heather drags her wee bloody bum down the hall, I think, while Dr. Barbara is stuck with Ada's Data, and when Dr. Barbara figures out what's actually going on, she leaves Ada's Data alone with the 70s porn stars, and Ada's Data offers to play both of their flutes if they will let her go. And while that's going on, down the hall, Dr. Barbara, in her obvious infinite medical wisdom, tries defibrillating the body, which looks a little bit like Vietnamese pork neck salad, which happens to be my favorite Vietnamese dish, if anyone was wondering. And when that surprisingly doesn't work, Dr. Barbara makes an even wiser choice to lock herself in the padded room alone with Az's Data, who ends up cutting her neck with her fingernails? Does that mean the skinny jeans dagger wasn't even necessary this whole time? Given how sincerely lucky and blessed I am to have the subscribers I do, I'm pretty sure I don't have to tell you guys how this story wraps up. But just in case, as his data takes over Dr. Barbara's body, then whoever is in Dr. Heather's body shoots whoever was in the body on the stretcher next to her, and then whoever the two remaining folks are wrestle, and one of those two folks says abracadabra again. And the movie comes to a close with Dr. Barbara counseling Dr. Heather's creepy husband, and after everything that just happened, I just can't get over how fantastic Barbara Crampton looks at 66. And there you have it. If you've already seen suitable flesh, I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments section, and feel free to point out any and every detail that I got wrong in this recap. As always, thank you very much for watching my little review, and until next time, folks. Maybe my expectations are too high. I should tone down my complaining a bit. You can't expect to have Sandtimer symbolism and a solid grasp of dialogue in the same Heather Graham movie. I was definitely wearing a jean jacket that day, and now I'm starting to wonder if she was making small talk to be polite because she felt awkward because I was, like, staring at her or something. Who the fuck says nice jacket to a jean jacket?